I'll just I'll get you to edit that part out. Just let me figure that out for a moment here. I forgot to mark down where they're from. That's so unprofessional of me. uh, all right, so discoveries of the month. This time we're gonna try a little something different, and I have these kind of ordered chronologically, so that'll kind of give you an idea of like where to go in terms of when these releases came out. But basically, just a reminder: this whole section is just me covering new stuff that I came across throughout the month of March that didn't come out in March. Obviously, there's plenty of overlooked stuff that we have missed over the years, and so I want to give this segment as to be a chance to dive into those things. So let's do that. Starting with in 1995, we got this band called Disaffected from Portugal. This is their album called Vast. These guys actually pretty ahead of its time with this release. That's very avant prog death type of stuff, kind of techy at the same time, but a little more on the experimental proggy side of things. And for that time, there's not a whole lot that did that outside of the likes of like Atheist or Cynic and whatnot. And even in that regard, I think these guys have a slightly more thrashy direction in their writing. So if you're into that kind of thing, then I highly suggest checking this one out. Up next, move on to 97 with His Hero Is Gone. Now, these guys are actually considered what was the word I'm looking for? An essential, but let's go with essential, I suppose, for at least for this release, for the world of crust punk, neo crust, and whatnot. This is their big album one that I have overlooked for a long time, called Monuments to Thieves. These Americans put out this really neat neo-crust sludge metal type of release, and it's absolutely captivating. I was absolutely blown away by this one. It's arguably one of my favorite releases I've discovered throughout March, and is just bonkers front to back, really versatile, and pretty epic for what it is too. So if you're looking into more kind of melodic, crusty sludge type of stuff, big this is one that you shouldn't miss. This is a classic for a reason. Up next is a band that I've actually listened to for quite some time, but this one in particular, this release, is now one of my favorites that I came across and worth mentioning. Absolutely, it's another one from 1997, and this is with the band from the UK called Esoteric. This is their album, The Pernicious Enigma. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. But this release, another one I would say is arguably quite ahead of its time. Funeral doom metal has not really been a thing that's been around for too long at this point. Pretty much rose up in the 90s. And this one in particular as well has really kind of cemented into some like post metal, space rocky type of stuff, almost kind of proggy in certain instances too. Really interesting stuff here, and it's a long album. Let me warn you that, it's a little over 2 hours, so definitely prepare yourself if you want to dig into something like this. But absolutely recommended. I love the vibe of this. It is pretty repetitive. That's what's to be expected with a lot of doomy stuff. But if that's your niche and you want to find more stuff like this, absolutely go listen to this one. Moving on to 1998. We're going to be going into a couple of metalcore releases now. This is an American metalcore band called Die My Will. I came across these guys going through the music charts, ironically, esoteric charts, let's say. They have this thing where you can kind of dig through the charts, not just what's the most popular or the highest rated, but they have one that is basically covers the most overlooked artists. And I kind of had a moment of digging into what the 90s had to offer for metalcore. And this is a band I came across and is absolutely mind-blowing stuff. This album in particular is called And Still We Destroy, although I have to mention their self-title is also fantastic. They only have 2 albums, and honestly, binge both. But if you have to pick between the two, I'd say their latter release is the one that really stood out to me. Some pretty heavy disembodied vibes and just really good stuff, straightforward metalcore that just riffs from front to back and absolutely just pulled me in. I love this stuff. And continuing on to another band I also came across going through the 90s metalcore. This is from 1999. Also American is the band called Turmoil. This is their album The Process Of, and this one also basically similar vibe, straightforward riffs that just pull you in front to back and just goes insanely hard. So if you enjoy Die My Will and you want to dig into more stuff, Turmoil is another absolute banger of an artist to check into. Moving on now to the 2000s with the year 2000. This is going back into more the sort of crust punk side of things, but this is entering a kind of niche genre called stenchcore. This is basically just a kind of subgenre of crust punk that fuses with the likes of other forms of extreme metal. So definitely much more on the metalized side of hardcore than your usual crust punk. So very aggressive, very just evil and angry sounding. So if that pulls you in, then pay attention to this. This band is called Filth of Mankind, and this is their, I think as far as it's I think it's their only album or it's some kind of compilation of sorts. They only had like a demo or so before, and this release is kind of like a remastered piece put together of releases. And yeah, so these guys are from Poland, and yeah, very much just like I said, really aggressive, just heavy, kind of doomy at first, and then just really pulls you in with the kind of thrashy, sludgy, death metal oriented crust punk. Uh, as I said, stenchcore. That's get used to the term if you want to dive into more of that kind of stuff, because honestly, underrated genre, and in general, Filth of Mankind, they do it really well. So give them a shot if you're curious about the sound. All right, going on to 2001 with a Japanese artist called Koltar of the Deepers. These guys really interested me because they were kind of a band I wanted to try to dive into that weren't as metal, and then this album in particular was a lot more metal than I expected. So this album is called No Thank You. This one kind of really vibes with the whole mishmash of alternative metal, shoegaze, a little bit, quite a bit of noise rock, and a bit of dream pop, post metal. Like it's kind of all over the place, but it's really catchy. They've got some pretty heavy moments that just kind of like, whoa, not what you'd expect. But overall, very versatile listen, really catchy, and I just really like this release. So definitely check this out if you want something from the Japanese side of things that really just kicks you in the face. Moving on now to 2003, more metalcore, almost kind of deathcore kind of stuff. This band is called On Broken Wings. Also from the States, we got this album called Some of Us May Never See the World. And basically, as I've stated, not too different from your usual 90s, early 2000s type of metalcore. So if you're looking for more stuff like that, this is another big recommendation. I was really into this one. Some really good breakdowns and stuff like that. So if you're looking for like some genuinely good stuff in the genre, definitely go check this one out. All right, 2004 with this band called Swarm of the Lotus. These guys, as far as I'm concerned, have only 2 full-length albums. I've known their second one for quite some time, and for some reason, I never decided to check the other one, but I decided to recently, and very glad I did because boy, it is fantastic. Another personal fave that I came across over the last month. This album is called When White Becomes Black. So basically, this is some American sludge metal crossover with mathcore kind of stuff. So very chaotic, riff oriented, kind of slow, like definitely more on the sludge metal side of things. But they have their moments. They kind of get pretty wanky and stuff, and it's great. I love this stuff. Um, this album in particular, I was blown away by it. So massive recommendation on my side if you want to dig more into the side of sort of chaotic mathcore oriented sludge metal for sure. Moving on now to the 2010s. This is a 2011 release called Plains of the Purple Buffalo from UK band Shells. These guys play a arguably not as metal release, but enough metal I think it's worth mentioning. It's kind of like a post-rock metal, slightly atmos sludge, kind of shoegazy too. It's another pretty versatile release. It's hard to kind of narrow down a specific genre, but that's what really pulled me in about this too. Is just how kind of all over the place it is without being overly all over the place. It just really focuses on good atmosphere and it just hits the spot. It is just beautiful release. If you're looking at something a little less aggressive, but still has just enough that pulls in, the inner metalhead, then yeah, give this one a shot. Really, really good. Fallujah. This is probably one I'm going to talk about that is probably the most popular artist on here. Now, especially as someone who is normally into really proggy extreme metal, this could come as a surprise for most people wondering, how have you not listened to this one yet? So this is for their 2014 release, The Flesh Prevails. And the main reason I decided to listen to this because I saw that they were coming here for a tour with Persephone, Dawn of Ouroboros. I already forgot the last band, but I definitely am excited to see this tour. And I've known Fallujah, like I said, I've known this band for a long time, and I never bothered to check into this stuff. I guess because based on what I've heard from reviews, not that it was anything bad, a lot of hype. There was definitely a lot of good things to say about them, but I think it was too close to the time that I was moving myself away from slightly more melodic modern atmospheric stuff. And so for that reason, I never really bothered really digging into Fallujah's stuff. But after, this anniversary wanted to be, celebrated and whatnot, and seeing the lineup for the show, it was kind of hard for me to pass up on seeing that, especially because Persephone, as you recall from previously talked about, is one of my favorite bands. So I had to see this, and considering they're playing that album in its entirety, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's give this album a proper listen. Let's sit through it, see what happens. And yeah, I missed out. I made a big boo boo in not listening to this any sooner, and yeah, it is quite the essential. So I probably don't have to recommend this one to you because there's a good chance you've listened to it. But if you haven't for any reason, probably similar reasons as me, do yourself a favor and do go listen to that because, yeah, it's kind of a masterpiece. Just gonna point that out there. Moving on to 2015 now. This is with another pretty heavily overlooked band called Habak from Mexico. This is their album called Insania. Another neo-crust, sort of screamo-ish post-metal artist. And these guys I had a friend introduce me to, and really captivating stuff as well. Maybe I'm getting a little biased towards this style, sound, and whatnot, but I'm finding a lot of stuff. As you can tell, I have so much to talk about, and I'm just excited about it. So that's why I'm doing this channel and want to do it with you guys. And yeah, so here I am going on about more artists and everything. But basically, Havak, they put out this. This is, I think, their first album, and basically, it's really good. Trust me. Just go listen to this if you want something really engaging, kind of emotional, atmospheric, but just hits the spot. And yeah, that's also a really cool Mexican artist and worth mentioning. Overlooked bands need more attention, so go give them the attention that they need. Okay, we're on to another one that's also relatively popular that I never came across for some time, and that's mostly because I had a hard time getting into their stuff, and only until this release that I decided, okay, these guys, I get the hype. And this is with the French band Alcest. It took until discovering the album Kodama, which is their 2016 album, and this is probably, yeah, I think this is like almost like the last release I checked out from them. So I'm kind of slapping myself for this, but I mean, how is anyone supposed to know which one's going to end up being your favorite after checking out all of them, you know? And I still, not to say that I didn't enjoy anything else that they put out in their catalog, I really did, but it was just missing something for me to like truly get the hype, you know? And Kodama just really pulled me in to that extent. Like it still had what, you know, identified for Elsa's sound, but had just enough that I was like, yes, this is the one. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. And considering they have a new album coming out, and I'm hearing people are saying that it might have similar, um, well, stylistic directions, I guess, to Kodama. There's a good chance this is going to pull me in too. So I guess stay tuned for that if that ends up being mentioned or not. But I mean, I'm already talking about it now. So I mean, if you're already an Elsis fan, then there's already a good chance you're probably going to go listen to the album anyways. Moving on. So we got Italy now for this 2017 release. These guys are called Onryo. This is their album Muta, I pronounce it. This is a really interesting combination of tech death, sort of math grindy avant-garde stuff. Pretty experimental and quite technical, but like really interesting stuff. Not many bands that you hear that do this kind of thing. Kind of make me think a little bit of what's that band there? I had it on the tip of my tongue and I already forgot. It'll come to me in a second. But basically, if those genres really appeal to you and you want to dig into more something of like a cool experimental side of like techiness and whatnot, then yeah, check out this band because this release is really short as well. So if you're kind of short on time or you don't want anything too long or whatever, yeah, give this one a listen. All right. These guys are kind of in the middle when it comes to popularity, but I feel like the release itself didn't get as much praise for me to be as aware of it. But this is from 2018 with the band called Mull, I guess is how you pronounce it. This is their debut album called Jord, something like that. Basically, these guys are from Denmark. They play a form of black gaze, post black metal, atmospheric stuff. That the kind of thing that you would expect me to talk about quite a bit because that's what I'm digging into. So what else is new? But what I like about this release too is they have like slight tinges towards melodic metalcore on here too. Something about the riff style and the catchiness that they got going on just makes me kind of get that vibe. So I think that's probably what helped get this band the attention they got with this release because it's slightly on the more kind of riffier, catchier side of things compared to your typical black gaze. So for that reason, it really helped pull them in for new fans, and it definitely helped for me too because I had my phase too getting really into melodic metalcore, and honestly, this album really hits the spot, blending the two in a pretty strong way. Not really many other bands I've heard to this day even really do. So big ups to that. Moving on, we got another 2018 release. This is a self-titled one from a band called Acathexis. Basically, this is kind of an international band, so it's split between three members who are all from different places, kind of thing. This is like a relatively straightforward atmospheric black metal release, but it's so well focused on the atmosphere, really emotive as well, just very well expressed. Lengthier songs that are quite captivating and really pulls you in front to back. So definitely worth checking out. And if you end up liking that, you can also check out the new one. I didn't want to talk about both releases like quite into detail because I, wanted to really focus on the ones that really pulled me in the most. And if I had to pick between the two, the debut was the one for me. But both absolutely strong releases, though. So definitely check out the other if you like this one. All right, moving on to Switzerland. Not a country that I talk much about for artists, but these guys probably my favorite from the scene so far. These guys are called Rorcal, and this is with their 2019 release, Mulladonna. I came across them before actually last year with their 2023 release, and I thought it was really strong, really captivating, aggressive stuff, and really pulled me in. But this this album, this one is something else. I was kind of expecting similar to kind of pull me in compared to their newest one, but something about this album just absolutely blew me away. Just so aggressive, and the atmospheres that they have going on, just really, I don't want to say industrial because that's not quite the right term I'm looking for, but it's got a lot going on. Just something about the atmospheres that kind of make you think a little bit of like Fond Limbs or LLNN. They got really pretty heavy, like almost kind of like hardcore sludge metal aggression, but it's also very blackened, very atmospheric and whatnot. And it's just, it's great. Definitely listen to this if you want to find something more on that sort of hardcore, just really slow and just brooding and just in your face heavy, but just it does justice. It's the kind of slow that's just sludgy and just it's really good. Go listen to this one. um, moving forward, so this is coming across now, continuing in 2019. This is with a band called Senza, and this is their only album as far as I'm concerned so far. It's called Even a Worm Will Turn. This is some American emo violence, blackened mathcore sort of combination. And honestly, it goes pretty damn hard. While it's not, yeah, I don't know. I definitely like, I almost want to say I was expecting more. It definitely pulled me in enough that I was really, captivated and want to talk about it today because it's absolutely worth mentioning. It's definitely one I think that will probably need a bit of sitting down with and really diving into a bit more. But it is a really interesting listen. Hard to really narrow down the similarities in terms of artists. Maybe that's probably why it wasn't quite there in terms of how pulled in I was, but I was definitely into it. So that kind of thing, again, just, aggressive, blackened, hardcore type of stuff, pretty fast, but, really sludgy at the same time. So it's a versatile listen. Go listen to it. Another one for 2019. 2019, I don't know what happened that year. I guess there's a lot of stuff from then that I somehow missed, but I'm glad I dug in a little bit more. This is another really interesting one. This is with a band called Necroi Theoi with their album called Dead Gods. Another American artist. This is actually with members of Ovid's Withering. Shortly after certain things came out about a specific member and certain problematic things, but that's okay because this band is kind of reformed of the not so problematic people. So this band's okay to support. Basically, yeah. So this release in particular, let's go on about the style here. Quite different from what you'd think or what to expect from a band like Ovid's Withering. Instead of a more kind of symphonic, proggy deathcore, they went in a more kind of brutal tech death, but also kind of some other tracks that are very much more on a like blackened death doom sort of approach as well. So that's really interesting. Not something you expect as much on a release as this, with a brutal tech death. And as well as I recall, there was a song with even clean vocals. So well, clean vocal warning for the brutal death metal heads. But yeah, no, it's actually really good. I think they did a great job pulling it in, and I think if you're one that's skeptical of clean vocals in your brutal death metal, I think you should give this one a shot because I think it's got a lot to offer here, and you should definitely go listen to it because, well, everything I talk about, I really enjoyed. So take my word for it or don't. Yeah, okay. So we are basically approaching the end now, officially on the last highlight of the month. Woo! We are right there. It feels like so much to talk about, and I tried to rush through them, and it feels like I've probably still talked for at least 20 minutes. Let's close this off. This band is called Sarcoptes, I think. Sarcopt, something like that. I wish I knew how to pronounce it, but this is their 2023 album called Prayers to Oblivion. And another one from last year that I missed somehow. I came across it, but I never quite got the. Well, what's the word you're looking for here? It's not that I wasn't interested. I was definitely interested. It was, I guess, just at the time, it wasn't the sound I was looking for. Even though they basically mix symphonic black metal and progressive sort of techie thrash metal as well. So I don't know. That's the kind of thing that sounds like it would really appeal to me, but for some reason I didn't bother. I had it saved, and then just more and more releases came across, and then I ended up just kind of brushing it aside, but not trying to. So I apologize if it took some time for me to get into it, but trust me, it's a great album. So definitely check this one if you're looking for any potentially missed releases from last year, because this is definitely worth mentioning as a highlight because I really like this really powerful stuff. Really strong drumming on it. The production's fantastic too, and just overall, really, really good release. And yep, we've made it to the end. But as you recall from last month, I have to close off with a pick of the month. What works out for talking about this one today is well, this album is actually celebrating its 20-year anniversary this month in April. So I have to talk about it. And this album is called Back to Times of Splendor from German progressive melodic death metal band Disillusion. They've been around for quite some time. This album came out in 2004. You do the math, 20 years, 2004. And basically, this is their first album. And another reason to talk about this one, regardless of whether it's anniversary or not, this is actually my all-time favorite debut album. Outside of just being a debut, even let's just take the note that the fact that this is a debut album. There's something about just how engaging this album is. I remember the first time listening to this, like I quite got the hype. I definitely did, but I don't know. There's just something about every time I come back to this thing, and then it just pulls me in more and more, and just makes me feel like it almost feels like something that I would listen to like for years on end and only got into somewhat recently. And even then, it wasn't. Well, I guess it would have been at least 5 years at this point that I've known about this album, but it was not the one from last year, but the prior album that they put out. That was the one that got me on their radar, and I saw the praise for their first album, so I decided to give that one a listen. And whew, that is an album. That is honestly an absolute masterpiece. If I can give that label to a release, this is, in my humble opinion, a masterpiece of progressive melodic death metal, and absolutely engaging. It's only 6 songs, but two of them are like 10 plus minutes, and both those epics, especially, are some of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. Um, if production is a concern, there could be some little things to tick off a little bit in your radar for how perfectionist you are with production. I will admit, but I mean, for me, I kind of brushed past it. Not that the production is bad in any way. I really don't think it is. I actually kind of admire the production for what it is. I think it's mostly, some people might complain the drums aren't as punchy, or maybe the guitars are too loud. But honestly, I think the organic sound of the drums are really cool, and just kind of pull you into the organicness and the nature of the performance of the album. And same thing for the guitars, just how they come in loud. It's kind of necessary. I think that the riffs are just so strong that it just brings them out more. Just kind of like, yeah, these are good riffs, and yeah, they're amazing riffs. I just love the versatility of this album in terms of just how, like, it pulls you in with the catchiness. The riffs are just godlike. Fantastic drumming, really unique vocals too. If you're not familiar with this band, Disillusion, like, the vocal style on this, it's not your typical death metal vocal style either. Like, it's almost arguably more lean towards being a prog metal artist than a metal death band. It's kind of mixed, but the cleans on this is like generally more kind of like on the lower scale, and just like still pretty grandiose for what it is. And when it gets into the harshes, it's like almost like yells in a certain sense, but it's just so, I love it. I absolutely just, it's an perfect album. There's a reason I'm giving this a spotlight at the end, and I have to talk about this for a few minutes, because it's just, if you haven't heard this one, like, do yourself a favor and fix that, because this album is an absolute masterpiece, debut album that I still can't believe it's a debut album. Like, imagine this being your first release to drop in 2004, and then just blowing people's minds away. I can't even believe it. But yep, that album exists. It's up there. It's even like a top 10 all time favorite of mine. So I've had a lot to talk about. But I want this one to be special, as I've mentioned, it's my 31st birthday. So cheers to Metal Minded once again for inviting me to talk about, just on and on about all the new stuff that I've come across, because I have a lot to talk about, and there's just so much music out there that just keeps coming, or more music that's just, been overlooked throughout the years, and it's just so much. And someone's got to talk about it, right? And I'm sure there's many people who definitely are, but I want to help in bringing more people those chances to get some kind of spotlight, potential to reach new ears, new audiences. And even if this channel doesn't reach too many people, the whole point is just pushing as much as possible, and I want to do just that. Just do my part in talking about music. So yeah, without further ado, I don't want to push this video too much longer, but if you stuck around this long in the video, I thank you very much, and appreciate you being here to talk about, to hear me talk about my favorite music on my 31st birthday. So cheers to that. I thank you, and hope you have yourself a good one. Take care.